When you imagine someone living a big life, you always think about somebody who has a big home full of a lot of things and they can get anything that they want. Their life is extremely abundant and they're doing so many amazing and awesome things in their life. And though a lot of that might be true, a lot of that might be true where you have so much abundance that you can get whatever you want. You can have a lot of stuff maybe because your house is big enough for that. But to get there, to get to the point that you can afford or do whatever you want to do, you have to have less things distracting you along the way. I used to have things that I owned that distracted me throughout the day, things that I needed to manage, to take care of. Then even a few years ago, I had so many obligations. So these things constantly consumed me throughout the day. I had to think about where I needed to be at every moment. I had to think about what did I need to sacrifice to be able to fulfill those things. And I thought that I was living a full life. I was living to my max potential. I was giving everything that I had to make sure that I could take care of my family and live the best life possible. But what ended up happening is I wasn't allowing myself to have the room for the things that actually made me happy, for the things that actually made me feel like I was living out my purpose. And because of that, I was a lot of times very unhappy, very miserable. And I don't think that giving everything you have for things that don't bring you the most fulfillment, the most joy, is living out your purpose. Yeah, you might be putting everything out on the field and giving everything you got, but if you cannot lay your head down on a pillow at the end of the day and feel like you did something that was meaningful, then you're not living out your purpose. Once my wife and I started to declutter and get rid of everything, I started to realize that I don't need as much to feel okay. I used to think that I needed a lot of comforts and a lot of things to make my life easier, to make my life better. And that's normal for all of us. We're always looking for the next thing that could just make things a little bit easier for our lives. And nothing wrong with that. But it gets to the point where you have so many things in your life, so many things in your home. You end up becoming very dependent on those things and then dependent on the ability to have those things. But what I wanted from my life was I didn't want to need those things to feel okay. I didn't want to need a lot of stuff in our home to feel like it was a home. I didn't want to need a lot of things on my calendar to feel like I was being productive. I don't want a lot of one-sided relationships just to say that I had a lot of people in my life. Doing something like this really makes you focus on becoming so much more self-aware of yourself, realizing the thoughts and the feelings that make you feel like you gotta have more than you need. And I had to really look at what fulfilled my life. I had to think about what are some of these things that I feel like I need, but I really don't. And it's just something that I'm dealing with that I need to address within myself. Thankfully now I feel like I don't need as many things. I don't need as many comforts. I don't need as many relationships. I don't need to feel busy all day long to be okay. It's okay to have all of those things, but I don't need those things to feel okay anymore. I started to see that my worth was not tied to what people saw in my life, in my home, what I had. The idea of keeping up with the Joneses is a real thing. You look around at your peers, you look around at people that you maybe look up to, and you think about all the things that they have. And then you think, well, if I have those things, I might have the same image. People might look to me as, wow, he is doing okay, or wow, they are doing all right. And you start to think that that's what your worth is. What can you accumulate to show people that you're doing okay? And so that was a hard thing for me to wrestle with because I started to think about like, how can I not just have a bunch of things that show people that I'm doing well? Because I wasn't into like having big cars or having big homes to impress people. It was more so just having the life that I could have those things. And that was a hard thing to wrestle with. And so going through this whole process, I started to see that, well, what makes me feel fulfilled? What is something that I can put out into the world that I can be proud of? And I started to see that my worth wasn't tied to my stuff, my things, what I could accomplish, and not even the things that I create or put out in the world, but my worth is already established. I'm worthy. Doesn't matter. The only thing that I have to look at every single day and ask myself is, am I doing everything that I can today to fulfill what I want to fulfill in my life? Am I living up to my own expectations? Am I doing everything I can to make this world a better place by inspiring others, by inspiring my family, by taking care of them? It's not tied to what people can see because money comes and goes. There are seasons where you can afford a lot of things. There are going to be seasons where you don't. And we have gone through that. What matters is at the end of the day, can you look at yourself in the mirror and be okay with who you are? Self-worth is such a huge and important thing. I like to term this idea as focused minimalism. So when I was going through this process of minimizing my life and getting rid of things that no longer brought me joy, things that were distracting me, taking me away from the things that made me feel happy and fulfilled and a life filled with purpose, I noticed that I was focusing on too many things in general. I was focusing on building my music career. I was focusing on building my career in the church. I was focused on building my career at my current workplace. I was focusing on different relationships and then trying to build this thing and build that thing. And I was so spread thin that I wasn't really accomplishing anything in any area. And that was a really hard thing for me to grasp because I was addicted to being busy. I was addicted to constantly having something to do, wanting to feel like I was moving somewhere. But it was too difficult for me to slow down and take an honest account of my life and know that, okay, I'm not really achieving anything right now. What is going to give me the most results if I put all of my energy into it? And once I started to put my energy into one thing and let go of all the things that weren't contributing to that one goal, and it doesn't mean that you can't go back to those things that maybe you do like, but you just have to sacrifice for the time being. When I started to do this, I started to see so much more progress in my life. I felt like my life was finally aligning in the right direction. And this really started to shape the way that I view life in general. Now that I no longer follow the new shiny object syndrome, the new exciting thing. Let's go after this and let's go after that. And I don't have that fear of missing out because I know this one thing is something that's very important to me. I'm going to put my energy into that. Doesn't mean that I don't pivot from time to time, but at least now I know I don't need to constantly have so many things on my calendar and do so many things. I have this new concept of focused minimalism. Just pursuing this minimalism journey has really given me that ability to just wake up and focus on the things that fill me up. Creating videos and putting out what I feel like can be impactful in the world, it fills me up. That's the things that get me excited every day. Sharing my life experiences, sharing the things that have impacted me in a lot of ways, sharing how I've overcome difficult times, sharing how I've struggled through a lot of difficult times. Those are all things that I feel like could help somebody out there, help someone who's like me, who struggles with things like me, who maybe wants some of the same things as me, wants a fulfilling life, a life filled with purpose, wants to raise healthy kids, break the generational trauma that I had gone through so that my kids don't struggle with those same things. And I know there's other people like me out there, and we're all alike in so many ways. And truly, at the end of the day, you don't want to wake up doing something that you don't love. Doesn't matter if you're a stay-at-home mom, doesn't matter if you're somebody who works out in the workplace, doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur, doesn't matter who you are. You don't want to wake up and not be able to focus on the things that you love. And finding ways to eliminate the things that are getting in the way of that is truly a secret power. It's something that takes time to develop. It's not something that you're going to do one time and forget about it. It's something that you have to do every single day. Constantly focusing on how can I not get distracted by everything else? How can I not get distracted by relationships that don't do me any good? Get distracted by things that consume my time that aren't good for me? How do I give everything that I have and on my last day and on my last breath, I can feel like I lived a life worth living? That is a core to living life. That is something that everybody wants. And so this is why I want to live with less, but live for more every single day. And I hope that you want the same thing for yourself and your family. Love you guys, and I will see you in the next video.